It's going to be a document reading of the Donald C. Canestraro document, where he interviews former FBI, CIA, and 9/11 congressional officials regarding a very covert and illegal operation that was conducted inside the United States between the years 2000 2001 from the CIA and the Saudi Intelligence Directorate. What I'm going to be doing is there's going to be a playlist of about maybe 10 videos, maybe 11, 12 videos, reading specific areas of the document and going over the minutia along with it. So here we go. Now, I'll make myself disappear so this way you can read the document in full. During now, all these names, of course, if you didn't see my previous video about the release of the Canestraro file, please go see that. I did a three-part series regarding this remarkable revelation of classified intelligence that was viewed by the CIA, FBI, congressional officials who all went by these anonymous names like CS1, CS2, and whatnot, because they can't talk about classified material to the public. During June of 2016, I interviewed a former 9/11 Commission investigator whose identity is known to me. The investigator is identified herein as CS1. CS1 stated that sometime around 2003, he or she interviewed Fahad al-Dameri at a Saudi government building in Riyadh. CS1 stated that the purpose of the interview was to question Fahad al-Dameri regarding his relationship with the San Diego hijackers and his possible association with Omar al-Bayoumi. CS1 recalled that numerous other people were in the room while he or she and other investigators were questioning Fahad al-Dameri. Now, a little bit behind this, Fahad al-Dameri was interviewed in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and he was surrounded by GID officials, the General Intelligence Directorate, and government officials as well. Fahad al-Dameri was the imam at the King Fahd Mosque. He was hired by Muassed al-Jarrah, who is the director of the Islamic Affairs in Washington, D.C. CS1 stated that members of the Saudi Counterintelligence Agency were also present during his interview of Fahad al-Dameri. CS1 told me that he felt that Fahad al-Dameri was less than 100% forthcoming when he was questioned by the commission. Actually, the 9/11 commission said that he was deceptive, intentionally deceptive throughout the interview. CS1 noted that Fahad al-Dameri seemed to react when questioned regarding his relationship with Omar al-Bayoumi. CS1 recalled that sometime after the first interview, he or she and other members of the 9/11 Commission interviewed Fahad al-Dameri a second time in Riyadh. The second interview was held in the Saudi government building. Members of the Saudi security service were also present at the second interview. CS1 recalled that Fahad al-Dameri spoke English fluently. CS1 also noted that during both sessions, when Fahad al-Dameri was asked a controversial question, he asked that the question be translated from English to Arabic. CS1 noted that the above might have had an indicator that Fahad al-Dameri was being deceptive throughout his questioning by members of the commission. CS1 confirmed that Fahad al-Dameri worked for the Saudi government in the Department of Religious Affairs. Now, it's really something that all these Saudi government officials like Omar al-Bayoumi and Fahad al-Dameri, basically stated, even to present day, that they didn't know who the hijackers were, didn't have any contact with the hijackers. But Fahad al-Dameri was shown pictures of Khalid al-Mihdhar and Wahbi. And at first he said, I don't know who these people are. The commission basically asked again, and someone from the Saudi government was speaking in his ear, and Fahad al-Dameri said, oh, yeah, I do remember them. They were on TV. Of course, he knew who they are because he's the one who asked a Tunisian cab driver, Khalid Benamarine, to go and pick them up at LAX airport, where they landed from the Al-Qaeda summit meeting in Malaysia in December of 1999. The next interviewed a second former 9/11 Commission investigator whose identity is known to me. The investigator is referred to as CS2. CS2 stated that he was responsible for the 9/11 Commission's investigation into possible link between the Saudi government and the 9/11 attacks. CS2 noted that the staff director of the 9/11 Commission, Philip Zelikow, limited the number of witnesses that commission investigators could interview. CS2 recalled that the FBI had Omar al-Bayoumi under investigation prior to 9/11 attacks. Now, what the commission didn't know was that the CIA also had an open file of Omar al-Bayoumi dating back to the mid-1990s. And this is from the Canestraro document, which we'll be reading later. And this is why I consider this document the biggest revelation of all, because it talks about classified material that's not released to the public. This is the biggest revelation of all regarding 9/11. This is as close to an admission of guilt that we'll get. CS2 told me that it was his belief that Omar al-Bayoumi was receiving substantial sums of money from the Saudi embassy in Washington, D.C. prior to 9/11 attacks from Mossad al-Jarrah, but also money that was going from former U.S. And Saudi ambassador to the United States, Bandar bin Sultan, whose wife Haifa bin Faisal, through their bank, Riggs Bank, payments to a person named Nawida Dawijak, the wife of Osama Basnan, an Islamic militant, and also an informant for Saudi intelligence who was close to some of the 9/11 hijackers. The money was going to Khalid al-Mihdhar and Wapa Hazmi. CS2 recalled that this money was being funneled from the accounts at Riggs Bank belonging to Haifa bin Faisal, the wife of the Saudi ambassador to the United States, Bandar bin Sultan. As you can see, this is where the conspiracy grows, all the way up to the highest levels of the Saudi government. CS2 relayed that his investigation showed that Omar al-Bayoumi had several no-show jobs while he was living inside the United States. CS2 defined a no-show job as one where an employee is paid by a given employer but not required to actually show up for work. CS2 stated that Omar al-Bayoumi allegedly was employed by Erkan, a Saudi company. He was also employed by Dalla Avco, who has ties to Osama bin Laden. According to CS2, commission investigators later learned that Omar al-Bayoumi was paid by the company but rarely showed up for work. Based on the above, I checked open source information regarding Erkan. The information shows that Erkan was a subcontractor for a Saudi aviation company, Dalla Avco. That's a good one, huh? The information further shows that Dalla Avco is suspected of having ties to the Saudi government. Checks of open source information show that 2 months following al-Bayoumi's meeting with the two San Diego-based hijackers, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Wapa Hazmi, his monthly allowance from Erkan rose from $465 to $3,700. CS2 stated that he believed that Fahad al-Tamari was an intelligence officer working for the Saudi government. Checks of open source intelligence showed that Fahad al-Tamari was later deported from the United States on suspicion of links to terrorism. CS2 stated that sometime following the 9/11 attacks, the FBI set up a squad at the Washington field office to investigate ties between the Saudi government and the 9/11 attacks. CS2 stated that sometime in 2003, he was fired by the staff director of the 9/11, Philip Zelikow. Well, how convenient is that? Now, why is that? Because the State Department was looking out for their interests, and their interest is Saudi Arabia, just like their interest is with Israel. This is the reason why I fully believe and endorse that Saudi Arabia and Israel be labeled persona non grata when it comes to U.S. government and being an interference with our elections by paying people from the House and Senate. According to the investigator, he was fired in that he obtained a classified index to the House and Senate's joint inquiry into 9/11 from a source other than official channels. According to CS2, the index is a document that identifies the source documents. FBI and other government agency reports that detailed the suspected Saudi involvement in 9/11 attacks. CS2 described his actions as a minor security violation. He also further stated that he was terminated by Philip Zelikow as Zelikow was attempting to blunt the 9/11 Commission's inquiry into Saudi involvement with the hijackers. He was actually put there by Condoleezza Rice, the National Security Advisor under George Bush. CS2 noted that sometime before his termination, Zelikow had blocked his request to conduct interviews and obtain documents pertaining to his inquiry. CS2 noted that Zelikow seized the index from him at the time of his termination and did not let anyone else in the commission see the document. As you can see, the investigation is not full. It is incomplete. As I've always said for years, CS2 states that the former deputy staff director of the 9/11 Commission may know where the index is currently located. This is the reason why we have to read these documents. We have to read the official reports to see what's missing, to see what's being said, because you can't just say all of it is false because it came from the government. You have to prove that it's false. What is false about these documents? What is false about these files? I just happen to think that people within the 9/11 truth movement are just intellectually lazy and would rather go by their worldviews to, construct a belief that something happened on 9/11 or something didn't happen on 9/11. Just intellectual laziness and dishonest. That's all. All right, guys. That's the end of this file reading, and I'll be doing more in the future as usual. Listen, guys, everyone have a good day and a good night, and we will see you in the next